What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another week of Oil and Gas Startups Podcast. Got my longtime friend Chris with Veralink here. Chris, what's going on, man?
How you doing? Good to see you again.
Dude, yeah, it's kind of nostalgic for you coming into this building.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. It's good to be back.
Yes,
We know when we started Bayardo Safety, we were kind of next door neighbors when we were on the other side of the building, and
yeah. Yeah, so if
um,
you listen, you've probably heard me and Jake talk about, we started the podcast back in a closet over in this old building. And at the time, like it sounds like we were just like in this janitorial closet, but this building was like kind of a co-working space. So you just had a bunch of like different companies
right.
and me and Jake and Chris were literally just separated by a wall. We were next door neighbors. And so man, that was few years back, and then you expanded, and then that was with Bayardo Safety. And
Yeah,
so I guess that's actually going to be kind of a good segue into what Veralink is today, because back then, I'll let you dive into this, but just kind of like high level, Bayardo Safety was training and credential program for oil and gas.
hmm
So dive into what that is, what you guys are doing, and then we'll get into Veralink here.
right. So Bayardo Safety was really and truly a segue into the software platform that we created and that we're up and running and live with now. And it was all things on that individual worker credentialing side. And in doing that, just in such amount of volume, we started to see a lot of industry problems. And then, back before I even started the company, when I was on the contractor side, I was kind of living and breathing that problem just on a day-to-day basis. And I got really fed up with it. And I know a good 90% of the industry is tired of it. It's just really messy and convoluted. And the problem I'm talking about is that, right now the data within the oil and gas industry is just grotesquely decentralized.
Hmm.
So, you know, you can remember your days back out on the rigs calling and going offshore, and you had 75 credentials for one operator, and
Hmm.
those weren't valid all of a sudden 6 days later for some different operator because they wanted something else. And if you had those, you weren't valid if those weren't being vetted through the right database that operator used. And it's just this big siloed data
I
approach.
mean, for context, like we had an executive assistant whose sole job was just to make sure that our credentials were up to date and had the correct ones for that specific operator. So he had a full time person that was just sitting there
Right.
constantly checking that.
And that's still common to this day. I mean, contractors and operators alike are just spending piles of money with massive amounts of employment to manage all of this for huge workforce numbers. Who has what training? Where did they get it? Which operators is it valid for? What do they require? When does it expire? Where do we renew? How do we renew? And it's just really really messy. So that level of just hands-on frustration,
Yeah.
for now.
Yeah, so I mean, at Bayardo Safety, you guys were doing the training, right?
Yeah, and still
Yeah,
do.
and
We
still do. Yeah, y'all have a training facility now, right?
Yeah, we've got a turnkey oil and gas training facility. We just hit our 5-year mark.
Awesome.
We've expanded quite a bit. We're
Yeah.
excited and happy
And
about
so,
that.
like, just to give context, like these are the places that you're coming to and getting, I don't know, whether it's like H2S type
Yeah,
or,
you name it.
yeah. And
You name
so,
it. So operator qualifications, confined space, competent person level training, OSHA 10, OSHA 30. I mean, there's just thousands and
yeah,
thousands that we're accredited to offer.
yeah. And so, how I want to kind of talk about like the old model first, because like of how you guys discovered the problem. I mean, seeing it firsthand, right,
Right.
and dealing with it. But you guys are actually the ones that are training the people and issuing the credentials. And so, from that standpoint, what you know, what did that process look like? Like once you credentialed someone, like did that go in? It sounds like there weren't central databases, like it's all siloed and decentralized. And so, were you the source of truth? Like, did operators have to come to you and say, like, "Hey, is this person certified?" Or did it go to some database? Like, what was that process?
Right. So we weren't necessarily the source of truth as a training center, but we understood all facets of how how those connections would get made correctly and how those credentials would get processed correctly. So part of the problem, these guys would walk into the training facility and uh, type of guy that wants to get out, put his boots on the ground. He probably could care less about, some qualification or some credential. He wants to be able to do his job well, but he doesn't want to sit in a training facility. This is John Q. Worker, by the way.
I mean,
He doesn't want to waste,
all field hands hate
2 days of
hate
2 days
training.
of his time. He wants to get in, get it done. But the common denominator was these guys were walking into our training facility in droves, and they kind of all had this same demeanor of this. I've done this before. This is a waste of time. I don't want to do this again. And we'd say, "Great. Well, what credentials do you have?" And they're like, "Well, I don't know."
Yeah,
And then we'd say, "Okay, well, where'd you get them?" "Well, I don't know. Well, somebody or a company did it, but I know I have it."
yeah,
And yet they couldn't produce a single thing.
yeah.
And they had some lanyard, with 75, ID cards and badges, and none of it was anything of a valid credential for them to go actually to work.
Yeah, it's always like, "Do you have rig pass?" I'm like, "Yeah, I've got rig pass," but there was, like, no way to actually check if you
Right.
had rig pass.
Right, right, right. And so that was part of the problem. And then, that's on the individual level. And then the contractors themselves would always find themselves, and they still to this day in the same rough spot, which was, okay, we've got, a 10, 20, 200 man crew, whatever that may be, out on this job for, operator X. Well, they finished that job and they did a great job. They're moving on, they're crewing up, they're going to the next, and they're going to mob out. And they get, they leave operator X and they go over to operator Y. And all of a sudden, operator Y looks them in the eye and says, "No, no, no, we're going to slam the gate in your face. You don't have a qualified workforce. We don't know anything, any data about your company. You're not up to speed within our compliance standards." And the contractors just throwing their hands up saying, "Well, we did all this stuff. We paid for all these trainings and credentials, and now we have to go do it again."
Mhm.
And so that's where we started to get into a really, really messy, siloed nature on, from an operator perspective of who accepts what. We know they'll never be on the same page. There's nothing I can do about that. But
Mhm.
we can simplify the mess and we can track and consolidate all of that data in one place. That's where Verilink comes in. So that hasn't been done before,
Yeah,
not to the degree that we're doing it at all. I mean,
yeah.
without being cliche, I think of it all the time as, truly positive disruption where,
Mhm.
the problems within the industry are just, begging to be solved. And here we go. So,
Well, it's like, I mean, a lot of problems sit out in plain sight, right? And especially when you're in the day-to-day workflows. I
right.
mean, that's the one thing I love about the energy space is that um, people are in their day-to-day workflows and they see the problems time after time after time, and they're like, there's got to be a better way to do this. And
Right.
so then after 10 years, 15 years of fucking around in that industry, you go find a way to build a software solution for it. And I mean, anyone that is competent would listen to this and be like, there's a lot of redundancy. There's a lot of just
A lot of cost
inefficiency.
waste.
Like, yeah, how's cost waste, and then just a lot of frustration.
Right.
Because it is
You
frustrating. I mean, just from a field hand perspective, when just like, why do I have to keep doing these?
Well, and
These.
not being able to track it, we ran a little bit of a case study where it was a small crew, X amount of pieces of equipment, X amount of labor hands, welders, operators, you name it. And without the proper compliance management, database management, and a single source of truth for all of that in one spot,
Mhm.
these guys had tons of gaps. And so they got out, they moved out to the job, and they got shut down. And I mean, they were losing a quarter mil a day on a very, very, very small, 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 small job.
Yeah.
So you take that problem and you see it happen all the time. Well, we're shut down today because of XYZ, or we can't weld because of this, or we can't make the lift because of X or Y. It gets ridiculously cost ineffective.
Yeah.
And
You
so
start extrapolating that across multiple jobs or larger jobs, then you have a exponential
big,
increase.
big problem,
Yeah.
big problem. So that was a lot of our motivation with Veralink.
Yeah.
And,
So
you know,
sorry to interrupt
no, no,
you,
no.
but I want to talk about the story a little bit because it's been a while since you and I have seen each other. I can't remember the last time we saw each other, but had to be before COVID, I think.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it
Yeah.
was probably around 2018 or
Yeah. Yeah. So it's
19,
been
somewhere
been
in
a few
there.
years. which time flies. So how did you guys like I'm gonna ask you some questions about like actually developing the software because I know
Yeah.
you. I know you. I know who you are. You're just a good old boy.
Right, 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 right. Yeah, no, I mean,
So how'd you go? I mean,
came up in the field
yeah,
and learned the
came up from
industry,
the
so
field. So and then like I'm looking at the website right now and I mean it's all nice. And so how did you go about actually building out the product?
without, any BS, I went over to the printer and I pulled out, 2 stacks of just white copy paper, and I drew out my screen, and I started to literally map out, what I would call just storyboards, and,
It's literally just a wireframe. It's like, hey, this is what I want it to look
exactly.
like.
I was at the time, I didn't even know it, and I was hand drawing wireframes, and, 700 pages later, I had a functioning, you know, database management, worker credentialing and compliance tool. And I actually pitched and went out and talked to quite a few different development firms, and we landed a phenomenal group that's Houston based. And when they came to start working this area, they were actually working out of the Canon.
Okay.
And so I met Jose Lazaro with Emon Solutions.
Okay.
And so I started to sit with Jose and, we wrote up an NDA because I was just like scared to death of, if this gets out and yada, yada, yada. Jose he loved the idea. And he was here building, their Houston area because they've got quite a bit of folks working for them in the Czech Republic right now.
Yeah.
But, he was getting their Houston outfit going, and we went out and did just a little bit of private fundraising, which interesting story, that's how I met our CTO for the company to this day.
Oh, really? Tell me
Yeah,
about that.
yeah, just a phenomenal
Because
guy.
like this is like a lot of people don't tell these parts of the stories, but all
Right,
these like neural links of
yeah.
like so
So
yeah,
we
dive into
we
that.
we wind out, raising just a little bit of money so that we can get the development going with Emon, and that's how I met, Tom Bishop, and Tom Bishop is just a, really, really, really sharp CTO. His resume speaks for itself. He's
Hmm.
very, very highly accomplished, and, um, just in having a simple conversation with him about the idea and what we were wanting to do and what we were wanting to build, um, he might, say, "Well, I thought about it for a little while," and I think he was in, and I say that not with arrogance. I say that, because he's to this day been extremely hands-on, extremely passionate, extremely helpful. I mean, he's just a gift, and I think truly why we've been able to take this as far as we have so far is working with a guy like that.
Yeah.
He's just that's his world. Where my world is the field and the problem.
Hmm.
His world is taking that and working with directly with our development team and creating a solution. So I mean, I work with him, every week. Uh, he just got done going through a bunch of updates with our development team, but having Tom Bishop on the team, I think in our early stages of some rough development and rough work, Tom really helped us take this to the next level. And I mean,
Yeah, I'm sure you saved it's
he's a
probably
partner and he's on board to this day. And
yeah, probably saved you a lot of headaches along the way of developing
absolutely,
the technology.
absolutely, absolutely.
So there's let's talk about the platform a little bit more in depth because there's some ideas kind of race through my head a bit, especially like when you look at NFTs, for example. Like, there's no reason that safety credentials shouldn't be NFTs, right? Perfect use case for
Right,
them. But also, this industry runs just 10 to 15 years behind on everything. So it's like, hey, we just need to get everything centralized
right.
into a database first. So let's talk about like right now. I'm it's I hardly ever like look at people's websites while we're on the show, but I'm just looking at it right now, and
No, so
it's really
there's
well laid out website. So I'll
thanks.
give you a compliment there. But yeah, tell me a little bit like the platform now, like from let's talk about different stakeholders. So whether an operator perspective, a field hand perspective or the credential, and
Right.
I don't know who else is a stakeholder,
Right.
but let's talk about it from each one of those perspectives.
So one thing we knew we wanted to do was, organically grow the platform as quickly as we could, as cost effectively as we could. And for me, there's kind of this big chip on my shoulder and wanting to get something like this out to the masses. Um, so one thing we do is every single individual that walks through our door, for it's a training credential, a safety briefing, whatever it may be, it doesn't matter. I mean, just droves and droves of people. They as get what we call an individual free individual account.
Hmm.
So think about LinkedIn. Anybody in the world can have a LinkedIn account, but anybody in the world can put anything they want on that LinkedIn account. I
Hmm.
mean,
Yeah.
I'm a power forward for the Rockets, and you play third base for the Astros.
Yeah.
And tomorrow it's going to say you went to Harvard and I went to
I
Yale.
literally the other day I made myself the CEO of someone's company that I don't like to let them know that I own them. Like you can be whoever you want to be on
Yeah, and when
LinkedIn.
we're talking about actual credentials and like keeping people from doing very ignorant things in the field, or the dangers of an untrained workforce, that's serious.
Yeah.
Um, so I was thinking about that with the individual, and what we're capable of doing is taking, let's say, all of your credentials, all of your work history, and you create that profile. It's got your QR code that's unique to you and you alone.
Hmm.
So if you change hats, which is common
Yeah.
in the oil and gas world, the turnover rates are just trash.
Yeah.
If you change hats 10 times, no matter where you go, your credentials stay with you.
Yeah.
There even used to be this kind of vendetta atmosphere
There was a
where
weird thing back in like
a
2013,
company would
2014.
pay for all these credentials, but if I'm not paying my guys right and you're paying them $1 more, well, I just lost my workforce, and I'm like, well, I'm going to revoke those,
No,
or I'm going to.
there was a that was a real thing. Especially like
Ridiculous.
I'm thinking it's like specifically like 2012 to 2014 era of like people changing companies and they'd be like, "Oh, well, we paid for those credentials."
hmm
So, and
Which is
then
weird, because think about it like this, and we've had so many discussions. Think about it like this: somebody go get some great job, they're doing well, they've been there a few years, and their boss comes down to them one day and says, "Hey, we'd love to pay for your continuing education. We want you to go get your MBA."
mhm.
Well, okay, so you probably signed some kind of an agreement, some stipulation, but
Yeah, stay 2 years, pay
at
it
the end
off.
of the
Yeah.
day, if you leave that company, does company XYZ get to say Colin no longer has a bachelor's or a doctorate,
Yeah.
or I mean, no, they don't. That's your credential,
Yeah.
no matter what.
Yeah. That
And
is a fair point.
and
Yep.
we're strengthening that in the oil and gas world, like it's never been done before.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I mean, here's the thing is just the redundancy. I mean, just think about if you're these OFS companies or operators. I mean, you can bring down the cost for the industry across the board if
exactly,
you have standardization and you
exactly.
accept everyone like bring down the costs across the whole
No,
industry.
it's win-win, and that was one of the things I was really scared of, because as it sits, even up to today, there's so many hands in that cookie jar that I knew good and well it was going to be an extremely difficult fight,
Hmm.
and it still is. But
Yeah. Yeah.
I think at the end of the day, we're going to win that fight.
Yeah.
The way data's being managed and data's being handled,
Well, open source is becoming the open source mindset with millennial generation is becoming a thing and this
right?
whole black box keeping shit close to the chest, like it's just not an attitude that flies. And so
Right.
I think that there's some cultural and generational shift there as
Right.
well.
So that's a lot of it, for those individuals and the individual credentials. And that's a free individual account. I mean, anybody in the world that wants to start managing their own credentials and ditch that lanyard and know what they have, they can go on verilink.io and set up their free account just as easily as they can set up a LinkedIn account or a
Hmm.
Facebook account. So that's one side of it. The other side is the contractor companies themselves.
Yeah. Let's before we get to the contractors, I'm a user, I'm a field hand. I don't even know if Falc's around anymore. That's
Right.
who I always used to get my training through. But say I'm there, and I get H2S certified. Um, am I able to work with any and every training facility agnostically to upload my certification, or
Right.
how
So
does
you
that work?
can, as an individual, it's as simple as a screenshot over your credential. You can upload it. If you want to, we actually work directly with the training entities
Hmm.
where we're able to basically set automatic, push pull API systems in place so that
Yeah.
no matter what, we're doing data pulls and data feeds, daily, multiple times a day,
Yeah.
so that if you wind up, knocking out some hour-long fire awareness course and you got to be on a helicopter at 6 a.m., your credentials there.
Yeah.
If that training entity is in place with us, and
Yeah.
that's all part of what we're building
That's
out.
building out the network. Yeah.
Exactly.
So that's interesting because I do think, like, taking a screenshot of the credential, there's still a lot of fraudulent activity that could get through that process. But building up the network and working with the facilities is ultimately, like,
Yeah,
you need to be able to pull from the source.
exactly, and that's what we're doing. And even with what you're saying, some guy might be good at Photoshop and
Uh,
kind of
I was
that
just
LinkedIn
thinking of me, dude. I'm
example.
a meme master, so I can
Right.
I can Photoshop.
Yeah. Right. So even with that, our system identifies if it's an individual upload or if it came direct from a source, and we've embedded all those sources within our platform.
Nice.
So you'll see that icon stamp of a verified credential
Mm-hmm.
versus a non-verified credential on the
Gotcha.
individual side.
Yeah. Cool.
Um, but a lot of it's just ease of use and handy on the individual where they show up and they're like, "Oh God, I don't have my lanyard, or I left it sitting on the kitchen counter," and
Mm-hmm.
they can have their QR code scanned. That operator can pull up every single thing about that person, see
Yeah.
what's valid, what's not, and if he's actually going to work today.
Yeah. So from user perspective, you got that from the field hand perspective. And then from the training institute, or the school, now you guys are essentially building up critical mass, building up the network to where you can have push pull APIs
Hmm.
and constantly pull information from them.
Absolutely, absolutely, and that plays in really handy when we talk about the contractor companies that are signing on to Veralink to manage their entire workforce.
Mm-hmm.
Because it used to be, you know, you could get a database where you had, let's say a lot of safety training, or you could get a database that had a lot of, specialized OQ from an OQ entity, like the NCCER,
Mm-hmm.
or you were in this other database for your background screens and another database for your drug screens.
Mm-hmm.
So you see how that's starting to stack,
Yeah.
where ours is one stop shop. All credentialing. You've got credentialing identifiers, so at one glance you'll know this is a background, this is what it was, this is where it's accepted, this is validated, this is his OQs to operate this crane, here's his certs to operate this equipment, here's his drug screens, here's the multiple consortiums that he got his drug screens updated, here's his reader sheets, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So they've got one stop, shop to manage their entire workforce. They can even go into our platform and map out their projects internally. So they've got 20 guys out on a rig, they've got 10 guys on a pipeline, they've got 15 people, working a recoat job.
Yeah.
They can map that out where they're at, who's on those jobs, what are those actual credentialing requirements for those jobs
Mm-hmm.
so that they never worry the night before again.
Yeah, I mean, it's a real problem, right? Like, I remember one time I was supposed to go out to BP rig, and it's like day of or day before, realized that, hey, I didn't have some specific
Mhm.
credential to BP, and now everyone has to spend time hurrying around, rushing around to get me that credential so I can get out on this
Right.
rig. And you start talking about just having hundreds of people, if not thousands of people that you're managing. I mean, it becomes
It gets
very,
messy
yeah, it
real
becomes
quick.
very burdensome. And, just knowing this industry, a lot of that was probably tracked through Excel spreadsheets previously. And so,
Absolutely.
yeah, I mean, the problem makes a lot of sense. Talk to me about the business model a little bit. How do you guys plan on making money through Verilink? the individuals sign up for free accounts? Is it the
Right.
operators that are?
So there's a variance, and we have some options there. If you want to manage your entire company and all of your worker credentials, we have a per user per month flat rate.
Okay.
And it's very similar with the operators. And I don't want to go into too much
No,
detail
no,
on
no,
that
no. But
side,
I mean,
but
it's a SaaS platform where essentially you have user seats.
yeah, absolutely,
Okay, cool.
absolutely.
Yeah, I was just curious. How if it's coming from operators, if it's coming from the contractors, if it's coming from the training facilities, or you're charging individuals. I mean, there's probably a million different ways.
Right.
You probably bang your head against the wall, trying to figure out what the best model is. So that's also like one thing I always find interesting about software businesses is that okay, we've identified a problem, we've identified how software can fix that problem. Now, how do we actually make money
Yeah,
doing it as
no,
well?
absolutely. That's kind of what I love, working with Tom on is, he and I can sit and just kind of grind and chew and talk over these issues that you and I are talking about now. And
Yeah,
he immediately says, okay, well, we can go this route. We can go this route. If they want to do this, we can, you know, we've got options, but right
yeah,
now it's really, really simplistic,
cool.
user monthly fee.
Cool. Simple
Hmm.
is better. So you guys have raised a little bit of capital. You've got your product out there, starting to get it into the market. What's the plan next? I mean,
Right now, we're in growth mode. Expand, sell, sell, sell. I think Veralink's going to be around for a really long time.
hmm
So right now, we're using a CRM platform where, all of these individuals we're documenting what companies are they coming from, who's calling us last minute, who's kind of suffering these pain points, and they immediately go to the lead sheet. And we just pick up the phone and we say, look, how are you managing X, Y, and Z? How are you handling these types of issues?
hmm
And they always come right back to what you and I, early on discussed as the problem. I mean, without fail, every single time they mention it, and it just really opens the door for us to be able to say, well, what if there was a solution? What if there was a way? And 9 times out of 10, it's a no-brainer for them. It's
Yeah.
cost effective. I mean, it's for them, it's cheaper than what they're spending on coffee and water in their office.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I went to sit with a contractor, and they had all the hats and the koozies and the shirts, and I was like, "Oh man, those are nice." And he goes, "Yeah, yeah, we just got those. We got, 20 of these red polos, and 20 of the black ones, and 20 of the white ones, and 20 of the purple ones." And blah, blah, blah. I said, "Man, that's awesome. How many of your workforce have a valid AOC credential to be out on that Kinder Morgan site?" And I mean, his draw job, he was like, "I don't know. I have no clue." And I said, "So you know how many T-shirts you have, but you don't know
Yeah.
how many valid AOC credentials you have." And the conversation, it wasn't, with animosity. It
Yeah.
was making a very valid point.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so the system and the sale, I think, is really easy when someone lives and breathes that problem.
Yeah.
Um, what's difficult, just being candid, is I think early adoption when oil and gas is so prone to this kind of a good old boy, we've always done it this way,
hmm
slow to adopt new technologies environment. Um, and so, without polluting the water too much, we created this platform not just for oil and gas, but I mean we're working with companies in the medical field that are, tracking clinics in 50 states with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of clinicians working
Yeah.
there. There's, ways to track all kinds of credentialing management. 'Cause, I mean, really, when you think about it, it doesn't matter
It doesn't care
now.
about what the industry or the
Right,
the 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 user is, like, a
right,
credential's a credential, right?
right. And everything has to be verified. Everything has to be credentialed nowadays. It doesn't matter if you're a Pilates instructor or a neurosurgeon.
Yeah.
There's credentialing for
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So we built as strong as a foundation as we can, and I think we're going to wind up helping quite a few industries with it.
I always thought was, like, interesting is, like, there's, like, no credentialing really for, college degrees, and, like, I don't have a college degree, but I'm like, I guarantee I could, like, just say that I have a diploma, and, like, no one would ever check me on
Well, and that's like
that.
that's what we were talking about. On LinkedIn, you can be anybody you want,
Mhm. Yeah.
and that gets dangerous when we're talking about real job roles. And real
Yeah.
credentialing. You get that job because you have an MBA, but do you really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah,
kind of
more so it's
scary.
like, hey, you're gonna go run this rig. Oh, you're well control certified. Well,
Right.
what if you really aren't? Or
Or start thinking about, NCCO crane certified operators,
yeah,
guys up there making critical lifts,
yeah.
over massive cities and
Dude, you want to know a funny story about that? I was crane
Sure.
certified. I mean, these are just like 120-foot booms, so not massive cranes, but just ones that are used out on frac jobs. And this is our certification. We had to scope out the boom, winch down, pick up a barrel, swing it over, set the barrel down, and we got we got crane certified
Yeah,
from
you're
that.
ready for
And
critical lift
I
after that.
always I always think back about that, and like I didn't know how to read a load chart on the crane, and I would
Right.
just be like, "Oh, that feels kind of heavy. I'm gonna put it back
That
down."
feels a little snug. I'm gonna set her down.
That's like the West Texas just cowboy way of
Mhm.
getting things done.
No,
But
I mean,
there's just
early in my career when I was still in the field. I mean, I remember the same thing with a rude awakening to, asbestos coatings on pipelines.
mm-hmm. Yeah,
I mean, I had zero training and just out with the wolves they threw me. And, I learned real quick and eventually wound up getting the training. But I was like, man, this is, we're not selling Nikes here. This is dangerous, pretty volatile stuff.
yeah. I mean, it's like when I
Let's,
started, I think about how much silica I breathed
oh, I'm
in through
sure.
mixing drilling mud and frac sand back in the day. And like, when you're a young kid, you don't give a shit. Like
No.
you're
And you're not thinking
invincible.
about it.
You're
You're not
invincible, right?
aware.
Yeah, you don't even know. Yeah, I
Right.
didn't know drilling mud had silica in it at the time. And anyways, yeah, I mean, look, especially in heavy industries, training is very important, and then being able to certify that, and just overall make the process not a pain in the ass. I mean, that's
Right, right, and that's part of what we're doing. Even when we talk to a new client and they're like, "Do I have to go in and individually do da 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 and upload every single little thing?" I'm like, "No, no, 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 no. That's how we used to do it. Like we've got bulk worker upload tools, we've got bulk credential upload tools, we've got automatic data population tools. Like
yeah,
we just created simplicity for you.
yeah,
We just made your life a breeze."
yeah,
And when we actually start walking them through it and they see it, they're going, "Whoa,
yeah,
why haven't we been doing this?"
yeah.
So,
Sounds like, I mean, look, the problem solution's clear as day, and so I think that uh, that's clearly defined, and obviously this industry cycles of adoption tend to be slow too. So
right,
I think that's just something that's common trait with every founder in this industry is like you got to go through those pain points. But really when you enable people, like I was thinking about the guy that you told the story of knowing the merge, but not how many credentialed people he had out on this job.
right,
Like that's not probably his like core function of where the amount of value is for him is like tracking people and their like credentials. Like I'm sure he has so much more high impact work that he could be doing, and so you actually enable people to
right.
get more of the important work done because hey, you don't have to
Absolutely.
fuck around and worry
No,
about
they're
this.
they're able to focus on, that project, that bid, boots on the ground.
Yeah,
They're not burying themselves with that compliance red tape and
yeah,
these little imperfections that'll shut them down and really ruin their week.
yeah, yeah,
Or their quarter, depending on the
yeah.
size of
Depending
the
on how
job.
big it is, yeah.
Um,
So
and there's just all kinds of, caveats to what we built. So all those individuals that come into the system, they're out there in the worker portal. So, you have your Veralink account, you're managing your team. Let's say you're two welders short. Let's say you're an operator short, or you need someone with a certain specific credential.
come in here and I can
With
find them.
Within our portal, you can go out and seek that talent. And it's not a poaching tool
Yeah,
because if you're spoken for, our system won't allow for that.
yeah.
Um,
That's really cool.
but you can go out and search by geographic location. You can search by name, credential, what these people do, what their work history are.
Yeah,
And you can go out and you can find that NCCO certified crane operator that also has his, Kinder Morgan site orientation.
yeah.
You can get really
That
specific and finite with it.
solves a discoverability problem of being able to find the skilled labor that you need.
Right. And you got a crew going out to Timbuktu. You can geographically search and pick up, workforce needs wherever you're at.
Yeah,
It's pretty interesting.
Well, man, this has been super interesting. One because I've got to see the evolution.
Yeah, yeah.
Front row. It's actually funny if you come to Digital Wallcutter's current office. There's still some lockers that have some of the old Bayardo stickers on
Yeah.
it. So still see some remains of you every once in a while in this building. But really cool, man. I love the idea and the solution to this problem. Guys and girls, if you're listening, and you're interested in taking a look at Verilink, the website is verilink.io, correct?
Veralink.io.
Okay, cool. And that's spelled Veralink.io. We will leave a link in the show notes, and we'll leave a link to Chris's LinkedIn as well. That way, if you just want to reach out to him directly, I'm sure he's a nice guy. I'm sure he'll take a call with you. So,
Absolutely.
Chris, thanks for coming on the show, dude.
Thanks for having us. Appreciate it.